This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
What's up, everybody? It's time for hot takes. A lot of videos posted over the last week. Let's look at your hot takes and react to them as such. First one comes from my video about the Browns kicker problem. Andrew Schmeidt, is that how you say it? Schmeidt is on the Browns roster queue. He was a UFL kicker for the Battlehawks in 2024 and made 19 of 21 kicks with a long of 61. I know you've been wanting them to bring in a good kicker. We have one on the roster already. Wouldn't be shocked if Schmeidt beats out Hopkins at all. He's 26 with 5 years of college kicker. Did a great job in the UFL last year. I don't know why you completely ignored him in the video when you're talking about spring kicking. Look, I didn't ignore him. I just wasn't talking about what was on the Browns roster. I'm talking about them adding more kickers to the roster to compete with Schmeidt and Dustin Hopkins, right? So just because somebody was on the roster, you could say that they're a part of that competition too. My whole thing is that what they have on the roster just isn't sufficient for the competition that they need to have. I have been on this for a while. If you're going to have a kicking competition, you need to bring in more than like an extra guy to compete for the kicking role. I think the Browns have maybe, 3 kickers on the roster? I wouldn't mind bringing that number up to 5, signing some guys in the UFL, and just really let's see who wins the battle, right? Let's see who makes the most kicks in camp. I'm all for a radical reconstruction of how we evaluate the kicker position. I wouldn't be mad if they just told the kickers, hey, we're going to send the long snappers, the punters, the kickers. We're just going to send you guys to the stadium during training camp, and you're just going to practice there, right? That way we got all the space we need on the field for everybody else doing 11-on-11 team stuff. We just send you guys over there to work on field goal stuff, and then, we'll bring you in a couple days a week so we can work on off field goal stuff. But yeah, I think, more the merrier in the kicking competition. We could do this shit Hunger Games style, right? You just eliminate a kicker every week. I just think if you're going to really have a kicking competition, needs to be a lot of people. The pressure needs to be there with every kick that you could just lose your job, because that's really what the pressure going to be like during the season. This hot take comes from my video about Colin Cowherd and talking about practice stats and all this silly stuff we was doing last week. Weird Shador fans, this comes from BBB4228. Weird Shador fans commenting on every video will do more to turn fans against them than anything the kid does on the field. Here's the thing about this, man. A lot of this stuff going on with Shador is deeply online behavior, and we have to remember that we're not the majority of the fan base. We might feel like we're the majority of the fan base, but online Browns fans are a segment of the fan base. Most Browns fans are not looking at the comment section on every video that the Cleveland Browns post. Hell, most Browns fans aren't even paying attention to what's being posted on the Browns YouTube or TikTok or anything like that. So I don't know how much it's going to do to turn the fan base against him. I do think what most fans are exposed to is the general nonsense that's coming from the media hyping up Shador Sanders OTA practices, right? Like the fact that, it feels like we're not far off from a Shador Sanders OTA practice becoming a first take headline, right? Like I feel like the first time he has a bad practice, it's going to pop up on first take as a discussion and asking if it justified his draft fall or something stupid like that. That's the stuff that's going to turn fans against him. Comment sections, we gotta be real with you. We're probably talking about at most 100,000 people interacting with the comment sections of these videos. Like, it's not going to be enough to turn a fan base against them because the Browns fan base is just so large. But some of this national stuff, right? And that's my focus, is like, hey, when people nationally are like, I don't care if you personally are deciding to argue about OTA stats. I think it's stupid, but like on an individual level, if you want to be stupid or silly or whatever it is, do what you want to do, right? My my concern for how this is going to end up turning against Shador is more about when national media outlets cover this, right? When it becomes a actual story and it's not just a couple of accounts posting something on Twitter, when it's ESPN Cleveland posting the training camp stats instead of like one beat reporter, right? That's where I'm like, okay, this is gonna get to a point to where everybody's gonna have an opinion on it, and that's just not gonna be a good thing, right? Like, if it's niche, it's niche. The Sanders fans comment section thing, it's a niche thing, right? But some of the larger stuff, I think, is what I'm worried about, right? When if you're just a casual Browns fan and you're hearing all this good stuff about Shador, you're not really registering that it's during OTAs and that you really shouldn't be taking too much stock into this, right? So you might get to a point where all you've heard is this glowing stuff. Oh, Shador's killing it. Shador looks amazing in camp, right? And then you see Shador in the preseason and he underwhelms. And then if you're a casual Browns fan, you're going to look at that and go, well, this is bullshit. He's not good at all, right? It's going to cause people to be harsher on him than what's necessary because a lot of the hype is getting to them, but they're not really like thinking about it like that. Like it's just a lot going on that I don't think people are really thinking about how this is going to impact people who aren't really like in tune with the fact that OTAs don't matter. But when you present them like they matter, it's going to have a consequence if that player is not able to be successful down the line, or if that player struggles a little bit, it's going to lessen the amount of rope that people are going to give that player to grow. And that's my big concern, right? So you're an individual, you want to get hyped up over these damn training camp stats, whatever, man. I can't stop you from doing that. Especially if you know full and damn well what you're getting into. But my issue is like, okay, once we're starting to like endorse this kind of stuff nationally, that's where it gets to a point where I'm like, all right, people are going to take this in that aren't going to be able to really process it properly, and it's going to lead to a lot of bad results. Dev 5000 says, it's so odd the Steelers looked like the Browns last year and nationally nobody is talking about it. I mean, like, to be fair, nobody really was. It wasn't popular last year to point out the critical holes in the Browns roster because a lot of people thought that these things would just get better, right? And I think that's where people are with the Steelers. And I'm seeing the national sentiment on this Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh thing as it continues to wane on start to change. But yeah, I do think Pittsburgh is leaning an awful lot on improving this year on Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers alone. You look at that defense, I don't think that defense has gotten better. You look at that offense, I don't think that offense has gotten better. And you could say that Aaron Rodgers is an upgrade from Russell Wilson, but I don't know if he is. I think they're the same thing. If not, Aaron Rodgers could be slightly worse than Russell Wilson. Both quarterbacks who are going to give you decent stats at this point in their career, but both quarterbacks who, they ain't really got it anymore, right? Like, so, yeah, it is interesting. And that's just assuming that they get Aaron Rodgers back. There is a world where Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, and I'm going to be real with you. I don't know if that's good or bad for Pittsburgh. And that's how I know Pittsburgh's in trouble, right? The second I'm thinking to myself, would Pittsburgh be better with Mason Rudolph? That's where I'm like, oh, that's not a team that's in a good place, right? Like, for example, the second Browns fans ask the question, are we better with Jameis? That's when we knew our season was cooked, right? That's when we knew we were going to be drafting very early. That's when we were thankful for the fact that we had our first round pick this year, right? Like, and like, to the Browns' credit, the year they chose to be god awful, at least they had their first round pick. Can you imagine we went 3-13 while we were giving our pick to Houston? But anyways, that's when I knew, right? And when I have that same thought about Pittsburgh or anybody else's roster, that's kind of when you know they're not going to be that good, right? When the second you're asking yourself, hey, man, is Mason Rudolph a better player for them, right? The same way that it was the question for the Titans when you knew the Titans were cooked, when they were like, hey, is Mason Rudolph better than Will Levis? You're cooked. You're cooked. You're cooked. And like, legitimately, I don't know the answer to the question if Mason Rudolph is better than Aaron Rodgers at this point, or at least an easier player to play for Pittsburgh to win them more games. I don't know. This comment here: if Rodgers bulks, Cousins is waiting in the wings, but the Steelers will want to pay the price for Cousins for a potential upgrade over Rudolph. Me personally, if Rodgers don't want to sign here, then you just bite the bullet and play Mason Rudolph, man, and just throw Will Howard out there or something like that, and just call it what it is, right? This team, this roster with Pittsburgh is not so good that if you stink this year, it's going to be that much of a waste. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, you're not really wasted much. Like, yeah, TJ Watt, he's on the roster still, but I don't think TJ Watt's been playing at his peak form. I know people will bring up his sack numbers, but if you really look at his advanced metrics, you look at his tape, he's not been the same player for a couple of years that he was when he was winning back-to-back defensive player. Well, when he was winning defensive player of the year. He just is. So yeah, I don't really think there's anything to capitalize on for Pittsburgh this year roster wise. So I wouldn't see the reason to go out of your way to trade for Kirk Cousins. Honestly, it would probably benefit you longer to just see what you got in Mason Rudolph and Will Howard and just roll from there. Because there's an upside this year to stinking. Zachary says, in terms of pass rush, yes, it's good. We have Myles Garrett, in my opinion, going to be really good under this. Oh, Mason Graham. And I was going to say Myles Garrett going to be good at this defense, you think? But no. You said Myles Garrett, then Mason Graham, in my opinion, is going to be really good under this defense. I'd agree. Hall and McGuire, Wright, Tryon are all good rotational pieces. Plus, we have McGuire and Wright. Have shown very great flashes as both edge rushers and run stoppers. Not also to mention the linebacking core complements them with their blitzing capabilities. I think our front seven gives a lot of offensive problems if they can stay relatively healthy. Yes, if they can stay relatively healthy, I'm always concerned about what defensive tackles are going to look like in year one. So I don't want to guarantee anything for Mason Graham, but there's a chance Mason Graham looks really good in year one, right? Mike Hall looked pretty solid in year one. He got injured though. But yeah, if they stay healthy, if you get a good year one out of Mason Graham, which is not guaranteed at the defensive tackle position, then yeah, this defensive line has all the pieces to be very, very strong this year. And I do think it's underrated. But that's it for the hot takes. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.